brothers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma and it is time for Bookmas Day 4. So for today's Bookmas, I am doing books on my radar that I do not own that have already been published. So I have a list of like 8 books that are on my radar. They haven't been published, or they've been published already, that I just don't own, but I would like to maybe own this year or listen to on Audible and consume and read. So let's get started. So the first book on this list is Spells Like Teen Spirit by Kate M. Williams, right? Yeah, there is an M in her name. Kate M. Williams. This book is the third book in the Babysitter Coven trilogy. The trilogy is basically about a group of witches that are in like a babysitter's coven, and like being a babysitter is like the front for how they save the world through their witchy powers, I guess. I think that's the best way to describe what this book is about. I loved the first one. I felt about the second one, but I would like to finish the trilogy. So I'm definitely going to try to get my hands on Spells Like Teen Spirit and read this at some point in 2022. The second one is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This is a plus-size Cinderella retelling. I believe it's supposed to be kind of rom-com-esque, and I believe that Julie Murphy is also working on a series of companion novels that are retelling of classic Disney fairy tales, all in like a plus-size way. And I believe that this one in particular takes place on like a dating show. I'm not sure if it does take place on a dating show or if I'm just constantly confusing the plot with one to watch. But either way, I love this idea of retelling classic fairy tales at a plus-size level as someone who does fall into that plus size category, and I just think it will be really good, really interesting. I did read Dumplin' by Julie Murphy and I did like it. I am very much ready to read If the Shoe Fits. The third book that is on my radar that's been published but I have not yet read is The Sanctuary by Sarah Pierce. I don't know a lot about this book. I think it's going to be somewhat similar to The Broken Girls, where it kind of takes place at like a haunted, I think this would probably take place at a haunted sanitarium, and have like a thriller paranormal mix to it. I'm a big fan of that. I have heard good things about this book. I've heard not so good things about this book. So I would like to read it. I would like to see if it is worth the hype and if it is any good. I think that it's something that I would enjoy, but I don't know a lot about it. It's a somewhat thrillery book, and I like to keep my thrillers somewhat a secret before I read them. So that's all I really have to say about the sanitarium, but it is on my list. The next book that is on my list that has been published but I do not own, so I have not read yet, is The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris. This book, from what I understand, has such an interesting premise because it's about a boy who, I can't remember if he can see the future or if he can see like the important moments in people in his life. And basically whatever his power is, he discovers that his brother is going to die in the near future, and he is trying to live a good life and help his brother live his best life, while also I don't think he can tell his brother that he knows when his death date is. And it just sounds really interesting. I believe it might have something to do with police brutality. I'm not 100% sure, but it just looks really interesting. I think I stumbled across this on like Bookstagram or something, and the cover drew me in, and then I heard about what it was about and I was like, yes, that needs to go on my TBR because it sounds good. So the next book on my list is We Are Not Free by Tracy Shee. This book, I believe, is about a group of children that are being held in an immigration detention center. I don't know if they were, like, I don't know how recent their immigration attempt was, so I don't know if it was during the time where DACA was being redacted or if they were older, but I don't know a lot about this book, but I do know it has a lot to do with immigration policy and all of that that's going on in the States right now. I've never read a book about it. I don't know a lot about it. I just think that it sounds like an interesting book, and it's definitely one that is high on my radar. I have it on my Amazon wish list, and it probably would be one of the next ones I would buy. because it just sounds intriguing. So the next book that is on my list is one of the most popular series on BookTube, and I have yet to read any of the books in the series, and I want to. There are people who are saying that these are like the best romance books they've ever read in their lives. Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert is the next one on my list. I know that this trilogy follows the three Brown sisters, and they each fall in love in different ways. They each have different personalities. I believe that Chloe is the first one. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I'm pretty sure Chloe Brown is the first one. I definitely feel like I need to read these books at some point. I just have never bought them. And for me, this book feels like a book that I would want in physical form rather than auditory. It's not auditory. Rather than audio. I think I'd rather read these physically. So I just need to get a copy and get reading Get a Life, Chloe Brown, because I just think it'll be good. I think it'll be interesting. I'm excited. The next book on my list is a book that I really know very, very, very little about, but I have liked other books that I've read by this author. So it's more just the author's name that got it on my list. But it is the book You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen M. McManus. This is a recent release. I believe it came out at the end of November. Possibly came out in the beginning of December, but it's a recent release. Karen McManus is known for her debut novel, One of Us is Lying, which has become a Peacock original. I also own a copy of... I've read One of Us is Lying. I've also read One of Us is Next. I own a copy of Two Can Keep a Secret. I do want to get a copy of The Cousins as well. I don't know why this one's not on the list, but The Cousins is also technically on my list. And then You'll Be the Death of Me. I like her writing. I like the books. I know that they can be a little controversial, especially One of Us is Lying, but I liked them and I really got into them. So I would like to read more from Karen McManus. The final book in this video is basically the rest of a series, and that is the Playbook series by Alexa Martin. I've read the first two books in this series, but this series basically is a book that follows football players as they fall in love, but typically I believe it is told more from the female's perspective. So the first one was about a woman who was dating a guy on the football team. They broke up for a little while years ago. She had a one-night stand when she went to Chicago, and now all of a sudden the guy she had a one-night stand with is on her ex-boyfriend's team, and she falls for the guy she had a one-night stand with. The other one is another second chance trope, but this time the girl and the guy dated in high school. They broke up. She found out she was pregnant. They both are now living in Denver, and they try to make things work. I believe it all follows the Denver team, but I think there's 2 or 3 books left in the series that I have not read, and I definitely would like to read them at some point in 2022, or at least 1 or 2 more in 2022, because they're good. The Alexa Martin books are good. I enjoy them. 10 out of 10 would recommend. But I believe those are all the books that are really on my radar as books that have come out. I've seen a little bit about them, but I have not read and I do not own. Let me know in the comments down below what books have been released already that you're really interested in reading at some point in 2022. I'm hoping that this list might be one I can get through a little bit more, because there are definitely books on this list that I could listen to in audio form. Like I said, there are books that I don't want to listen to in audio form, like the Playbook books. I would definitely like to read physically, because one day when I have a bookshelf, I would love to be able to put all of the books in the series on it. Whereas like the Sanatorium, I might be willing to read audio, because I do enjoy a good thriller that is an audiobook. So it all just kind of depends, but those are all books that have been released before December 31st, 2021 that are on my radar that I would like to try to get to in 2022. Tomorrow I will be back with basically my most anticipated books of 2022. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, Worlders. If the shoe fits. I forgot what that was called. The next book in my list, wait, that was the right sentence.